Stop everything you're doing right now because what just happened between Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo at this live event is not something you encounter in an ordinary celebrity appearance, and it is absolutely not something you scroll past without stopping completely. Lee Min-ho made a joke. Unexpected. Unscripted. The specific kind of joke that only a person who knows another person with complete intimate familiarity would make in a public setting. And Song Hye-kyo's response was immediate and total and completely unmanaged, and the camera that caught it has given the Min-kyo community something they are going to be replaying and feeling deeply about for a very long time. Was this a rehearsed moment of celebrity couple charm, or the most completely unguarded documented expression of pure private joy that Song Hye-kyo has ever produced in a public space? Stay till the very end because every single layer of this moment and what it reveals about the specific quality of the private world Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo have built together is going to make you feel things you were not expecting to feel today. Before we get into all of it, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications because Min-kyo moments are arriving and you cannot miss a single one. Now let us talk about the joke, the laughter, and why what just happened at this live event has completely broken the Min-kyo community open with joy. Min-kyo fans, let us be very clear about what category of moment this is before we begin examining its layers because the category shapes everything about how the evidence should be read and what conclusions can be drawn from it. There are several categories of laughter that can surface between two public figures at a shared event, and not all of them are equivalent in what they reveal about the relationship between the people laughing. The first category is social laughter. The warm shared amusement of two people navigating a public situation together and responding to its social elements with the appropriate warmth that the situation generates. This category of laughter is genuine in its way, but it is generic, producible between any two people who are comfortable enough with each other to respond naturally to shared social experience. The second category is performance laughter. The amplified warmth of two people who are aware of an audience and who are producing a version of their natural interaction that is calibrated for the consumption of that audience. This is the laughter of people who know they are funny and who are being funny on purpose and who understand that the laughter their performance generates serves the occasion they are part of. It is entertainment. It is entirely appropriate to the contexts that generate it, and it is not dishonest in any fundamental way, but it is produced rather than simply arising, and the produced quality is detectable to careful observers. The third category is private laughter surfaced. This is the rarest of the three in documented public contexts involving celebrities who maintain careful control of their public presentations. It is the laughter that belongs to the specific private interior of a relationship, and that surfaces in a public space only when something produced by the specific private world between two people has bypassed the usual filtering that public settings apply to private emotional responses. It is identifiable by its specific quality of surprise. By the way it arrives before the person laughing has had any opportunity to prepare for its arrival or calibrate it for the context it is arriving in. By its total quality. By the way it involves the entire face and the entire body of the person it is happening to rather than the partial, controlled deployment of laughter that performance laughter typically involves. Song Hye-kyo's laughter at this live event was the third category. Completely, unmistakably, irreducibly the third category. And the third category is what we are here to talk about. The joke itself requires examination before the laughter it produced can be fully appreciated because jokes are communication, and the specific thing that Lee Min-ho communicated through his joke says as much about the Min-kyo private world as the laughter it generated says about Song Hye-kyo's relationship to that world. What he said was not a general joke. Not the kind of broadly constructed humor that a comedian deploys in a room full of people because it will land for the maximum available audience. It was specific. Specific in the way of something that was only fully funny to one person in the room because it required a shared reference that existed only between two people and that the rest of the audience could appreciate as warm and amusing without fully accessing the specific interior layer of meaning that made it land as hard as it did for the person it was directed at. He was making an inside joke in public. In a live event setting, with full awareness of the audience. And the inside joke was for Song Hye-kyo. This is the first layer of significance in the moment, and it deserves emphasis because it is a departure from the established pattern of how Lee Min-ho navigates the boundary between his public and private worlds in professional settings. The man who has spent years maintaining the careful separation between what is his to share publicly and what belongs to the protected interior of his personal life chose in this moment to bring something from the interior into the public setting in the specific form of a joke that referenced a shared private world. He chose to let something that exists between them specifically surface in a room full of people who would partially but not fully understand what they were hearing. The partial understanding of the audience is itself part of the joke's structure. He designed it to work on two levels simultaneously: the level of the public audience who would find it warm and amusing in a general way, and the level of the one specific person in the room for whom it would land with a specific full force of something that referenced the particular private texture of their shared life. He gave the public audience the warm and amusing version. He gave Song Hye-kyo the whole thing. And the whole thing produced in her the laughter that the Min-kyo community has been watching on repeat since the footage surfaced. The specific quality of Song Hye-kyo's laughter when the joke landed is what every Min-kyo fan needs to understand in complete detail, because the detail is where the significance lies, and the significance is what makes this moment more than an amusing clip from a celebrity event. Let us begin with the timing of the laughter's arrival, because timing is the first available evidence of the laughs category. Between the moment Lee Min-ho delivered the joke and the moment Song Hye-kyo's laughter arrived, there was no gap of consideration. No brief pause in which she processed what she had heard and decided how to respond to it. The laughter arrived immediately, in the specific way of a response that did not require any processing, because the joke had landed in a place where the landing was instant and the response to the landing was equally instant. Instant laughter is involuntary laughter. And involuntary laughter is the honest kind. The kind that does not ask permission from the person it is happening to and does not wait for the person's management systems to assess whether the context supports the expression, and does not calibrate itself to the audience that might be observing it. It simply happens because something was funny in the specific way that things are funny to people who have the private reference required to receive the full version of the joke. The instant quality of Song Hye-kyo's laughter is the first evidence of its category. It was not a decision. It was a response. The volume of the laughter is the second specific detail that has generated sustained community analysis, and the analysis is warranted because Song Hye-kyo's laughter in public professional contexts has a specific established register that her most attentive observers know well. It is warm. It is genuine within its social function. And it is consistently contained. Not suppressed in the sense of being held back against its natural inclination. Contained in the sense of being the specific amount of laughter that the context generates naturally in a person who is comfortable in the social situation she is in and who is responding authentically to its warmth. The laughter at this live event was not that contained. It was full. The full version of Song Hye-kyo's laugh that the community has only glimpsed in fragments, and that has been described by people who have heard it in private contexts as one of the most unexpectedly complete sounds a person can produce. The specific sound of someone laughing without any portion of their capacity for laughter being held in reserve for the management of how the laughter appears. This is what Lee Min-ho's joke produced. The full version. In a live event. In front of cameras and an audience. Because the thing he said reached her in the place where the full version lives, and the full version had no available containment against something that's specifically and precisely funny. The physical dimension of the laughter is the third detail that has produced the most individual emotional responses in the community since the footage surfaced, and the responses are proportionate to what the physical dimension actually contains. Song Hye-kyo's entire body was involved. Not the partial, face-centered expression of social laughter that keeps the physical response to amusement organized and controlled and appropriate to the professional context. Her shoulders. Her posture. The specific way her composure, that extraordinary composure that has always been one of her most defining public characteristics, was entirely temporarily unavailable to her because something was too funny for composure to have any purchase on the moment. The momentary unavailability of Song Hye-kyo's composure is an event of significance in its own right. This is a woman whose composure has been described across decades of industry observation as one of the most consistent and most impressive features of her public presentation. It has been present in difficult moments that would have destabilized most people. It has been maintained in contexts that specifically demanded its maintenance and in contexts that simply benefited from it. It is not fragile. It is one of the most robust qualities of her public self, and it has been reliably available to her in every documented public context that the Min-kyo community's extensive archive contains. Lee Min-ho's joke at a live event made it temporarily unavailable. He found the specific thing that the composure cannot hold. He found it because he knows her. Because the joke was constructed from intimate private knowledge of exactly what kind of specific funny is the kind that Song Hye-kyo cannot produce a managed response to. And the fact that he deployed this knowledge in a public setting, that he chose to use the specific thing he knows about what will make her laugh completely and without the possibility of managed containment in a room full of cameras, says something about where they are in their relationship and how comfortable he has become with the world seeing certain dimensions of what exists between them. He was comfortable with the world seeing her laugh like that at his joke. That comfort is its own declaration. The aftermath of the laughter is where the most intimate documentation of the moment exists, and it has been examined with the specific close attention that the most revealing Min-kyo evidence always receives. After the laughter subsided, in the specific seconds between Song Hye-kyo's composure returning and the event's ongoing demands fully reclaiming her attention, there was a look. The look she gave Lee Min-ho. Brief. Directed. Carrying in its brevity and its directness the specific content of what a woman communicates to a man who has just made her laugh in public in a way she did not see coming and could not contain. The content of the look is not single. It is multiple things simultaneously, which is consistent with the complexity of what the moment itself contained. There is warmth in it. The specific warmth of someone who has just received unexpected joy from a person they love, and who is communicating the receiving with their eyes before any words could be offered. There is something that the community has been describing as private amusement, the specific quality of a person who is still inside a joke between two people even as the public event reclaims their attention. There is something else underneath both of those things that is harder to name and that has produced the most sustained individual descriptions in the community response. It is acknowledgement. The specific acknowledgement of someone who has just been seen, who has just had a piece of their private self, the part that laughs completely and without reserve at certain very specific kinds of funny, made briefly visible in public by someone who knew exactly what would make it visible and deployed that knowledge with a specific comfortable affection of a person who loves the result. She acknowledged the seeing with the look. Said with her eyes in the direction of Lee Min-ho in the seconds after the laughter subsided something that was simultaneously a private thank you and a private told you so, and a private this is what you do to me that had no adequate language but that her eyes communicated with complete clarity to the person they were directed at. The audience's response to the moment is worth examining because it reveals something about the specific quality of what was visible to people who were present in the room without the Min-kyo community's specific analytical context. The accounts from people who attended the live event describe a particular quality in the room when Song Hye-kyo burst into laughter. A collective response that was not simply the amused response of an audience to a funny moment in an event's program. Something more specific than that. Something that had the quality of a room that has just witnessed something genuinely private. Something that produced in the people present the specific warmth of unexpected intimate access, the feeling of having been briefly inside something that did not belong to the public occasion but that surfaced into it through the specific alchemy of a joke that was too precisely targeted to remain contained within the private world it came from. The room felt what the cameras caught. And what both felt was the specific quality of two people whose private world is so thoroughly established and so naturally present between them that it surfaces into public spaces not through managed disclosure but through the ordinary private behavior of two people who have stopped being entirely vigilant about the boundary between what is theirs and what the world sees because the world they share has become simply how they exist, in public as well as private, in professional settings as well as domestic ones. The timing of this moment within the broader Min-kyo story is a dimension the community has been examining with the attention it brings to every development at a significant point in the ongoing timeline. The live event joke and laughter come at a point in the Min-kyo journey when both Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo have reached a specific quality of settled public comfort with their shared identity that was not yet fully present in the earlier documented moments. The early Min-kyo evidence was characterized by careful management of the border between their private world and public perception. Beautiful evidence surfaced despite that management rather than through its cooperation. The management was doing its work, and the evidence found its way through the margins it left. What is increasingly visible in the more recent Min-kyo evidence, and this live event moment is the most concentrated example yet of the increasing visibility, is a different relationship to that management. Not the abandonment of privacy or the decision to make their relationship publicly available in ways that do not serve them. Something more nuanced and more interesting than that. The growing comfort of two people who have been together long enough and who have built something solid enough that the management of public visibility has become less about protection and more about preference. Less about keeping things from the world because exposure feels dangerous and more about choosing what to share because they have decided that certain things are worth sharing. The joke and the laughter were shared. Not formally, not through coordination or agreement. They were shared because Lee Min-ho made a joke in a live event and Song Hye-kyo laughed at it, and the quality of the joke and the quality of the laughter communicated something about their private world that neither of them explicitly offered but that both of them, through the ordinary unmanaged behavior of two people who love each other, allowed to be visible. This is Min-kyo in its current form. Not the carefully protected possibility of the early period or the cautious emergence of the confirmation period. The settled, warm, occasionally accidentally public reality of two people who have built a life together and who carry that life into every space they occupy, including the shared professional spaces that live events create, and that occasionally, when a joke lands exactly right and a laugh responds without any available management, give the world a brief, complete, entirely genuine glimpse of what that life sounds like from the inside. It sounds like Song Hye-kyo laughing completely at something Lee Min-ho said. It sounds like joy that did not wait for permission to arrive. It sounds like two people who know each other well enough for the knowing to be funny in the specific way that only very thorough intimate knowledge makes possible. It sounds like the Min-kyo community has always believed it would sound when the evidence finally arrived in this form. Drop everything and go to the comments right now. Tell us where you were when you first watched the footage, and what your face did the moment Song Hye-kyo's composure went completely offline. Tell us whether you think Lee Min-ho knew exactly what he was doing when he made that joke, or whether it was as spontaneous as it appeared, and whether the distinction matters to what it reveals about their private world. Tell us what you imagine the private version of that joke sounds like in the domestic context where it presumably first existed before it surfaced into a live event. Like this video, share it with every Min-kyo fan who needs to hear Song Hye-kyo laugh like that today. And subscribe, because if this is what an unscripted live event moment can produce when Lee Min-ho decides to be privately funny in a public space, every shared appearance these two have going forward is going to be worth watching with complete attention. Stay close. Stay subscribe. The story keeps getting warmer and funnier and more completely itself, and every moment of it is worth being here for.